Hey guys, it's Lady T here, and I'd like to welcome you back to the life. I'm back, you're back, and it is going to be an amazing broadcast on today. Listen, before you do anything else, remember to stop, like, and share. And if you're joining us via YouTube, go ahead and click that little share link so that you can invite someone to church with you. I want to say a very special what's up to our TLC members, our eLife members, and those watching via Facebook and YouTube. We are super excited about what God is doing at the Life Center Church Reloaded. So we want to invite you to always stay connected. Visit us online at www.getreloaded.online. Also stay connected via social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can enjoy all of your favorite broadcasts over and over again. Looking for something to do on Tuesday nights? Join us every week at 8:15 p.m. for What's Up Live. This is a very candid and engaging segment that you are sure to enjoy. Also, for current and prospective members, join us for virtual hugs and high five Friday, August 28th at 6:35 p.m. Be on the lookout for the flyer for more information on that. Listen, I want to take time out to thank you from my family to yours for all of your well wishes, prayers, and thoughts that you have given to our pastor, my husband, Jonathan R. Mitchell, over these past few weeks. They are greatly appreciated and much needed. We just thank you and we love you all for all you have done. Now, let's hear from our pastor.
This is Pastor Jay. Wanted to just take a moment and appreciate you for taking time out to join us today on this broadcast. A special hello to our eLife family and all of our friends watching us live via Facebook and YouTube. Listen, remember as you watch today to stop, like, and share so that not only you can experience in the joy of this broadcast, but your family, friends, and loved ones can share in this moment that you're experiencing. If you're watching us via YouTube, be sure to click on that share link, send that out, and invite a couple of people to church with you today. Listen, we are about maximizing lives from Maximize Ministry here at the Life Center Church Reloaded. We know we all need a little TLC, and we thank you for just stopping and sharing in this broadcast with us.
Well, what's up, everybody?
Good evening.
How y'all are? Well, we found Big D. He back.
I don't see tonight.
Didn't he go missing?
I told him last week, I said, I don't know what Big D is. He just.
We was gonna put out an Amber Alert for you, sir.
I That was the crazy part. I haven't still been able to go over there and see the live.
Did you enjoy your trip?
It was a blessing, you
Did
know.
you did you wear your gloves and your mask and
I did.
PPE.
I did through the airport and through the city.
you don't want to end up like me?
Oh no, I feel just fine.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Lord.
And I gotta fix this thing because I'm looking retarded. This thing twisted up. Uh, so hello Facebook, YouTube, uh, all of y'all watching that will watch. It's Tuesday night. It's What's Up Live. I'm Pastor J. I'm back. That's what y'all was supposed to say. Yay!
You ain't leave. That's what I didn't want to say it, but
That's
I'm
why
glad you did.
that's
Thank
why
you.
I have your face cut off, mother. Ain't it?
I'm leaned over because I'm eating some pizza.
Why really? So
Well,
you
it
just
took 10 minutes to get on the live.
Sure did.
We're gonna have to cut some of them commercials off and spread them out.
well see. I started late. I started 5 minutes late.
It's still
So
10 minutes worth of commercial. We should just take your part off and leave boss ladies on there. That's
well,
right. Because we are, I mean,
fine. I mean, I ain't got to say nothing.
get right.
Kid right there.
We appreciate seeing your face, honey.
Hey, I ain't got to say nothing. I'm gonna sit here and Hirsch the whole live tonight.
We know that's
We
not
know
gonna
that's not
happen.
gonna
Right.
happen.
Yeah. Oh.
2 minutes into the live, you're gonna say something.
He said 2 minutes into the live.
2 minutes is a stretch.
Hey, Facebook, YouTube, you see how they do me? They do me so wrong, so bad.
We just tell us the truth
They do me so
on
bad.
Tuesday nights.
But that's fine. That's fine.
We love
In
you.
a couple of more weeks, I'm gonna have a platform.
You have it now.
Say whatever I want to say on the Sunday live, and
Oh,
and ain't none of y'all on there with me. hmm
We can
oh,
comment.
oh, because you control it. That's why we're not on there with you.
Just know, I'm storing up some stuff.
Oh, here we
You're
go.
right. That oxygen.
I'm, I'm storing up some stuff, boy. Yeah, I'm gonna preach on all of y'all when I come back.
God ain't tell you to do that.
Look, I ain't preached on the live in 8 weeks. Oh, it's getting ready to
But
be
the
eight
one thing
weeks,
gonna get all of us either.
and I done had 8 weeks to work on a good sermon.
That's right. Save us all.
I'm gonna get on there and rebuke all of y'all and say, "Come out of y'all flesh," and
Come out
I'm
of your
gonna rebuke
flesh.
all of you on the live, and y'all can't say nothing. I'm gonna block your comments and everything.
Not
Right.
block a comment.
You block my comment, I'm gonna go to another page.
Right. Me too.
I'm gonna block your comments and everything. You ain't gonna be able to say nothing.
I'm
You
gonna
only
call
like
you.
one of my
Well,
pages. I go to the other one.
it's Tuesday night, and we back. Lady T back. Elder Torrance, Lady Ann, and Big D. We found him. He was like, "Where's Waldo?" last week. We didn't know where he was. He he was lost in some sleep. That joker went to sleep.
I did.
He
I
pulled an
did.
eco on the leadership call.
There you go. If you watch it, I
We
want
know you
you
was asleep.
yeah,
Hold on.
baby, you must have been tired.
I was.
No,
I put
not
Not
my
you.
you.
Not you. Eco.
It,
That's
you
all
just go
right.
put her out there on the whole live. Oh.
She know we love her.
If y'all don't hear it up, I'm gonna be sleeping in a minute.
So tonight,
Oh, see,
we
she done got her done. She too good for it. So I need sleep.
My hair been done.
well,
What you
Lady
say?
T, what we talking about? What we talking about tonight, Lady T?
I want to know, what I want to know is, why do we go to church? Why do we go to church?
So before we start talking about the in depths of what our actual conversation is, I want to know why we all go to church.
Hold on, and let me say this. I ran into a nice older lady, right? And she was talking about how she was enjoying virtual church um more so than going on campus. And the only reason she would go back on campus is for the choir. How many of y'all go to church for the choir?
I'm gonna tell you why she was
Real.
enjoying. You say she was a nice older lady.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna tell you why she enjoying virtual church more than on
Why is that?
campus
Why is that?
because
Go start.
she can put her greens on and not have to worry about
Please don't say
having
something like
Right.
that.
back to the house.
Hold on, but
She
mother did say she makes sure she mails in her offering on
That's
Wednesday.
beautiful.
So it'll
So I
be
can get
there
there in
by
time.
Sunday. Yeah.
Come on, Marianne.
Yes, mother.
She don't know how to
That's
use
right.
tech to givelify any of that.
Mother
She
don't know
said she
nothing. No
mails
gift,
it in.
no cash app, no
I
online.
barely might check in.
And she don't
I hope
trust
it's
no
making it.
online giving. She was like, mother, like, I ain't
See, I
putting my
not trust the
credit card
postal
on
service right now.
I ain't
Right.
putting my yeah. So I mean,
Wait
it's
a minute,
like
opening people letters.
so. We're talking about why do you go to church tonight? So I want to know why y'all go to church. I know y'all have a
Uh,
great pastor and everything,
Well, with the pandemic going on, we ain't been doing
mm,
shit.
but well, I mean, of course, but I'm talking about before pre-pandemic.
Cause my
So
grandmama made me.
yeah,
That is probably why you go to church lady.
That ain't
I was
right.
forced to go.
You be forced to go.
Yes, Lord.
So you try to
Well, it was
say
just killing me with my granny.
pre
So,
you try to say pre-pandemic you were
uh-huh.
forced to go to church. We talking
Well, I don't
about
know who
recent.
forced you, cause I hadn't
We
seen
talking
you in a
about
minute.
recently, because you know, well, you came up missing for
Come
and
on.
cooked for
But I just, we not
and
go mention that on the live because I'll go there.
Don't do it.
you
I saw
can't
one of yours over at somebody else's church.
you can't go there with your pastor.
Oh, okay.
Come
Okay.
out your flesh.
I'm not in my flesh. I'm just speaking the state, stating the facts.
do you have, why you got the lights off? You said the
Yeah,
atmosphere over there,
why?
BB.
Are you over there having a playhouse or something at
We
the
need to get
house?
him a
I
lamp.
live in a trailer house.
Let me
You
find
say
out it was
what?
some candles.
Hold on, give me one
You
second.
over there?
Let me turn
He
this
said he in
camera
a
off.
trailer house.
Let
Hold
me
on,
Yeah,
find
lady.
out.
And hold on, lady. And while you starting, you was in the dark last week.
I was
Who's
Don't
in
driving.
throw no blows. Hey,
Oh
I was
yeah,
driving.
hey.
we can see
You was
nothing.
in that
Yeah,
romantic ambiance as well.
We
that's
couldn't
because
see
I was
nothing but
driving.
that fuchsia you had on. That's all we could see.
She had on fuchsia.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
you got
fuchsia was so bright, it didn't be the
on
whole car.
Tuesdays we wear pink.
We were. I have pink on tonight.
Yeah, on
You can't.
Tuesdays we wear pink.
You can't tell. It looks probably white because of the light.
Okay, Bishop, why you go
Uh,
to church? Y'all
huh?
get sidetracked.
Well,
Why do you go to church?
I'm gonna be honest. I go to church for a multiplicity of reasons.
Okay, multiplicity. Just pick one for tonight.
Firstly, I go to church because
pretty good.
uh, it is my opportunity to connect and fellowship with other believers. I go to church to experience God apart from my own personal devotion and daily consecration. Thirdly, I go to church because I know I'm gonna get a good laugh. It be some funny stuff happening at church. I go to see what's gonna tickle me. That's why I
Yeah.
go. Cause I mean, outside all the spiritual stuff, just being real, I go to church because I know there are just some people at church. There's one person in particular at the Life Center Church that I hate when she's not at church. Because I know if she's at church, she's never gonna let me down.
That is so.
She gonna always make me laugh every time she's at church. And so but there are other people's churches I go to because there are people at their churches that never let me down. They always it's always gonna be. That's why I miss my daddy. I miss my daddy because my daddy never let me down. He always gave me something to laugh about in church.
Your daddy was funny outside
My
of
daddy and
church.
my mama. My mama, I'll never forget one
Oh
time
my.
we were at my home church before I went to Newbury, the church I practically grew up in. Uh, uh, the My mom, we went to church one Sunday, and one of the young ladies was ushering, and she had, the ushers wore black and white that particular Sunday. It was a Traditional Baptist church, and the young lady had on a leopard scarf with her black and white. And my mama walked in the door and said, "Woo, you ushering, but you out of uniform. But I sure like that pretty leprosy sash." I died. First of all, she told that woman she had on
Leprosy is a disease.
a leprosy. It was leopard. First of all, but she said, "I love your leprosy sash." First of all, is not a sash. It was a scarf. A sash is what the beauty pageant people wear. That my mama say I
Maybe
love
she
it.
had it tied like that, wrapped
Yeah.
and tied like that.
No, it was tied like you normally wear a scarf, but my mama called it a sash and leprosy. So I miss my mama because my mama never let me down at church. And we have another member of our church that never lets me down.
Mm-mm.
When I be preaching
She
here,
had it tied like that, wrapped and tied like
when
that.
I be
What?
preaching
What?
here,
Sorry.
when I be y'all know when I get at the good point of my sermon, he always shoot the guns at me, and then he shoot the basketball. Yeah, I love him when he comes to church. He's never let.
Oh, he be excited.
I go. I mean, and I be trying not to laugh while I'm preaching. But I be tickled. I
So the
laugh.
fact that you have to preach is never a reason that you go to church.
No, I don't go to church because I got to preach. I enjoy hearing other people preach. I love good preaching. Like this last 8 weeks, I have been enjoying myself, except for one week. But I've been enjoying myself these last 8 weeks.
What week
Uh,
you didn't enjoy yourself?
hey, I enjoyed myself every week. It was just a particular thing that happened on one week.
Oh,
Uh,
last week, week before last.
One of
no,
them
I ain't
weeks.
gonna tell you all that. See, you try to be too graphic. You try to be too graphic. Don't worry, graphic. Don't worry. There was something that happened one week
Mother
on
M,
Virgin.
is that a teacup you have? Is that a teacup you have there?
No, not this time.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I, and Pastor Jo, I saw your question. We're gonna actually get to all of that in just a minute.
We
So
have a question.
so yeah,
Big
so
D sent a text. He
that's
had to
why I
switch his
go to,
phone.
yeah, I just saw that. Oh, I guess he need to get back in. Welcome back.
Uh
Oh,
oh.
you got some light.
And
Praise
God
the
said, "Let
Let
there be
there be
light."
light.
My MacBook acting shady tonight. It's okay.
Yeah, the Bible say come out of the
Oh.
darkness into his marvelous light.
Yes, until your glorious day.
Yes. So why y'all pre-pandemic, why do y'all go to church, Harris?
Um,
Or just
I
curious?
I go to church. I got a few couple of reasons too. Um, there have been multiple churches that I have attended that I enjoyed the fellowship with other people. So um, when we went to church in Fort Worth, um, I the thing that I enjoyed there was the music. Like that was the music was really good. And see, I was gonna get to that because the church that we go to out here in the middle of service, they have like this fellowship time where you like take a break and everybody go eat donuts.
So
And
y'all just be eating at church
To
in
have
church.
intermission.
it's like a
Uh,
little intermission. You know, when we
y'all
first went there, I was like, wait,
do
what are
y'all
we
bring
doing?
the donuts and stuff in
Oh
church?
no, no, no. You know you can't eat in the sanctuary.
You know, hey,
Some
hey,
people do.
Man, that we live in that donut.
I went to church one time. They had that little intermission thing, and you was just sitting in church eating cookies and drinking punch and stuff.
You know that would be kind of nice to have like a movie tavern kind of style church.
I went to one church and this lady had summer sausage and crackers wrapped in foil paper. I'm not
And
lying.
did and did
What is that smell?
was,
Ah.
was rustling paper the whole service. Like man,
You that hungry? You just
man,
need to go and exit
if
the
you that
building.
hungry and you
They
can't lie and say you diabetic because if you diabetic, you certainly should not be eating summer sausage.
well, they do that in Detroit. At the
Yeah.
church we went to,
Detroit.
they was passing out candy.
They was passing out candy.
Yeah,
Well, candy is
No.
not
Oh
really summer
yeah, I passed
sausage.
out candy.
I'm not
Yeah, I
saying
mean
like
that's kind of
mix.
different.
I'm talking about like real like airheads in church. I was like, oh
Oh,
no, y'all good with
period.
that?
I thought you were talking about those nasty strawberry candy.
Wait,
What you
wait,
say?
wait.
Airheads is
Don't
different.
get disrespectful.
That now that's the church candy.
That strawberry candy is it.
But that
But
rapper that y'all got to get through to get to that, it's
Look,
terrible.
look,
you got Lord, I'd be so mad. I'd be ready to get to the candy and like you got that double wrap on that strawberry
Uh
candy.
huh.
yeah. And don't let
Like
it be stuck on there.
the first wrapper come off fine. That second wrapper be stuck to the doggone candy. I'd be
Yeah.
so mad. I I don't even be caring. I just put it in there and eat the paper and everything.
Yeah, just
That's
suck the
just
paper off.
gross. No,
Yeah,
that's
Why?
disgusting.
You done ate paper before.
I
No,
eat the
no, I have
paper.
not.
Hey, by the time you do that candy
By
real
the time you
good,
chew it, it's all good.
you forget
And
you even had paper on there. I
Right,
do
then
that
it's
with
you
good.
now too.
it be a
If
dead
Wow.
I
silence in the
look in
church
the
because
now
they be
later,
looking over
I
at
just don't.
you.
Yeah, I just don't eat the now later with the paper and everything. I don't be caring. I just be
Wow.
wanting.
But my last thing is majority of the time when I do go to church, like whatever specific thing that I'm dealing with, like somebody, whether it's a singer or somebody praying or something, like always hits on it. So it just like feel like, oh, okay. And it mostly happens when that one Sunday where the kids ain't acting right, towing's going slow, your outfit don't look good, your wig ain't following. Like it just be that Sunday where everything that could distract you from just saying, never mind, I'm not going, I'm staying here, and you end up going anyway. Like church just end up being like right there, like God knows, hey, I'm happy you're here, and I give you exactly what you need.
Right, right, right.
So then it
Uh,
make you want to go back because you like, if he gave me something this good this past Sunday, he got me next week.
yeah, yeah. So, I won't belabor. I want to get into like dig into this discussion because we posed that question for a reason. There is an article in Christianity Today that was published in 2018. This was published a year ago, and it was why Americans go to church or stay home. And so the article states in general that among regular attenders of religious services, that 2 in 3 go because of their kids. Uh, and then uh, it stated that 1 in 5 generally said that they don't even feel the presence of God when they go.
Mm.
I thought that was an interesting article. It said about 2 out of 3 American adults who regularly attend church or religious services say they go for their kids. So more 95% of people, 2 out of 3, say they go to church just because of their kids, because
Okay,
their kids
isn't
like
that
something
interesting?
that
Because it's like we would rather
you sound like
our children go,
there you go.
huh?
That you
Can
sounded
did you
like
hear me?
yeah.
Okay. I said, isn't that survey interesting? Because it's like people would rather see their kids grow more in God than themselves.
Yeah, and they the ones that should be being the example for the children. You know, I grew up in the hood, and I never had to experience my brother watching. We didn't have that type of house. Whether it was my mama, but before my parents were married, after they divorced, we didn't live in that house that the kids went to church and the parents stayed at home. We most of the time were like we sick of church because I mean we went to church. When I tell you every day, I mean every day. I think the only day we didn't go to church was Saturday. And then our dad being a pastor, our mom an evangelist, missionary, they always traveling somewhere in revival, and they dragging us along because we were always the guest psalmists, me and Caleb.
Come on, get some.
Get some. We never got paid with them, but we would get psalmists, and so you know, we would get we never had that experience, but being in growing up in the hood, we always saw that big van. I mean, that big bus that would drive from across town and pick up all the little kids in the neighborhood that wanted to go to church, and
Mm-hmm.
would take them to church, and the mamas walking around holding their house coat together with rollers in their hair, and y'all don't nobody come for me. That wasn't no kind of shot at nobody. I'm just describing my surroundings growing up. So that was what we saw on a consistent basis. Uh, uh, you know, and again, Pastor Jell, this was an article from 2018 that I'm citing from. So, uh, uh, so you know, and
I'm like, what you
he's,
trying to say?
he's so literal.
What? Put his comment up so they can see what he said.
He's so specific. Bless his.
You know,
You know, people don't go to church because their kids' sports or
But
your
that's true.
kids
Now
don't.
that is definitely true.
That is true. You have people, more people missing church for their kids now than
Yeah.
and to be honest. But again, like I said, this is an article from 2018 that I thought mentioned some interesting facts. Uh, and then it said, 2 out of 3 Americans, uh, American adults who regularly attend church, said they went for their kids, number one. But then let me finish out what they said. They went for their kids, they went for personal comfort, or to become a better person. Those were the top 3 reasons they went to church. Um, but but the interesting thing that I found in that was that the most important factor for going to church was never mentioned. And uh outside, yes, the Bible says work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling, but one of the key reasons you should be coming to church is is to be imparted to by that man or woman of God who is covering you and is the watchman over your soul, receiving that impartation from them to help you, most importantly, grow closer to God. Uh, but here it is. This article also stated statistically uh, that 1 in 5 adults who attended monthly or more said that they did not usually feel God's presence, and 1 in 4 stated that they did not usually feel a sense of community, and 4 out of 10 stated that they did not usually feel connected to, here it is, their faith history. So, a lot of, it's interesting that, you know, uh, Lady T and I were having a conversation and we talked, and this kind of how it sparked this discussion tonight. And we're going to have another part of this discussion next week, and we're going to have some special guests on with us that will continue another part of this discussion. But uh, it's amazing, and we were talking about how uh, people now seemingly go to church more out of ritualistic reasons, which when you look at, you hear these statistical facts from this 2018 article, it almost points to that. I go to church because, like Big D said, I I went to church because I was made to go. I didn't. Some of us grew in a household we didn't have a choice to go to church, and so we were made to go to church. Or and when we became adults, though we continue that routine of going to church, oftentimes it's not out of a sense of growing in God. It's more so out of that sense of I'm going because this is what I'm used to doing, or
Mhm.
it's out of that sense I'm going because the music good. And I've seen experiences in church to where as long as the choir singing, the praise team is going, boy, everybody is at it. But the minute you hear these words, open your Bibles, everybody out of
Mhm.
there. And it ain't because the preacher bored. It's just because most of the time they tired and wore out after an hour of singing, or
And
you go to
shouting.
church, you
Right.
go to church and praise worship. After praise worship, you shout 45 minutes and you tired. You
Hmm.
you exhausted by the time it's time for the word. You know,
Do you think
but
that
but
that's because we're a entertainment society?
when right. And that even translates over to the preaching part. A lot
Yeah.
of us won't go to church per se uh because of the word. We go because of who is quote unquote delivering the word.
That's true.
I mean,
That's very true.
it happened to where we not going just to receive the word in general. We're going because of who's preaching. And
Hmm.
I've seen it happen to where folk have come in church and ask who preaching today.
Hmm.
And if you say somebody that ain't their favorite, they turn right back around,
And they
walk
will
out the
leave.
door, and
Yeah.
get in their car and leave and go home. And that is a sad situation. But I often say this: God has no respect of persons, but people do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right because it's not right, because the word is the word. And you never know, you could miss out on your blessing because you are seeking after the popular person, or you're seeking after your favorite, and so on
Hmm.
and so forth. So you can miss out. So your reason for going to your motive for going to the house of God is wrong, is off, because you're going, like Elder Torrance say, I'm going so I can be entertained. I need the choir to sing me. And this is y'all remember this phrase? Uh, I need the preacher to preach me happy today.
Mm-hmm.
You ought to already be happy, because Psalms say you supposed to enter into the gates with thanksgiving, into his courts with praise.
Mhm.
So why you not already happy when you come to church? You should already be happy when you come. But it's an interesting situation, because we are like Elder T said, we are in this society where we want to be entertained, but it's the word. The
Mhm.
word is being fulfilled. People have itching ears. So they want to hear their favorite song. They want to hear their favorite preacher. But the motive of coming is not genuine anymore. So y'all help me. Where maybe where is it is it the church's fault? Has the church in a sense promoted or encouraged this disingenuine motive for people to come to church? Have we in a sense, do y'all think we've encouraged the church? And when I say the church, I'm not talking specifically any one particular church, but have we, in a way, do you think the church has become so commercialized in this society that it is
Bring me
becoming
some.
more, it is becoming more about likes and uh, things of that nature than it is becoming more about marketing, a marketing tool, than ministry. I mean, what's y'all's take on that? Like,
So I think it is. I'm not going to say church's fault, but I feel like churches have had the mindset that they have to now adapt and evolve to meet people where they are. The reality is, with 21st century technology, everything is modernized. Everything is entertainment driven, appealing to your emotions, and so um, now the church is feeling like we have to give a little bit more to get that person to not stay at home and watch
Mhm.
football or not go to, you know, the movies or whatever, type of entertainment they partake in, but they felt like it was a competition.
Mhm.
And because not everyone is spiritual, not everyone is deep, and a lot of people do go just out of obligation because that was their upbringing and that was what they were taught to do. Um, so yeah, I think from that aspect, the churches feel like they've had to adapt and kind of evolve to catch those um, people that normally wouldn't go outside of the deep spiritual, you
Mhm.
know, um, relationship that they're trying to cultivate.
Big D, you watching TV online?
I am not. Um, I was about to say, for me, I see a lot of marketing, um,
Mhm.
and I notice how some churches, when you post a pastor or you post a guest speaker, you're gonna drive people to come. Versus if you don't and you leave the people wondering who's coming, then they'll come more because they don't know who's speaking. But if they know, oh, Bishop Winans is preaching this week, and he may not be preaching that week, but because I see his face on the flyer, they're
Mhm.
automatically assuming he's coming, and it turns around. To me, that's like I'd rather you not put the preacher on there for certain areas, but that's just me.
So that's kind of
because
you saying it's baiting, the
yeah,
bait
Yeah.
and
You know,
switch.
and it's like it goes back to like what I said. God to bless you.
bless
Thank
you.
you.
You can't be sneezing on live. Folk be like, "Uh-oh."
She got to
Right.
sneeze. She got to
They got
sneeze.
that wrong. Hey, we got
Let it
oxygen
go.
tanks here. We good.
You can't be sneezing on the live. Folk gonna be putting on stuff. But it's like I say, people have respect to persons, but it's like even and I'm not knocking anybody for doing what they do. My good friend and brother, Pastor Andrew Bear, we were on a leadership summit for our region not too long ago, and he was teaching and talking on a subject matter, and he was talking about how in holistically how some people how some pastors not branding and marketing ministries. But he made a good point. He said if you put a name on a sign outside your building, that's marketing and branding.
Hmm.
He say if you have a church logo, that's marketing and branding. If you have a
Hmm.
church slogan or motto, that's marketing and branding. So there's nothing wrong with the marketing and branding piece. It is, you know, have the church of course, yes, I am all for that the church does not change its message, but it does have to change methodology to stay relevant. So just like everybody now, we had to shift and start doing virtual stuff. People that had never done virtual anything before had to shift their methodology, but it didn't change your message. Now, some preachers, their message didn't change, but the effectiveness might have changed because they act like they can't. And trust me, I struggle with this. It's hard to sit and preach in front of a camera with no amens, with no hallelujahs, with no go aheads, with no yes sir says. It is difficult. I mean, especially in the culture of the African American church, it is a difficult. It has been a difficult task to do, and you learn to adapt to it. But at the same time, you ought to have the same essence and zeal and share it because it really ain't about the amens and yes sirs. It's about the word, and you ought to have that passion for sharing the word. But you know, as a church, as pastors, as people of God, as ministries serving communities and people, you know, can 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 the church sometimes be found guilty of playing more so into the commercialism than the ministry? We live in a land of likes, and what one thing I love about virtual church is that I get to go. I have the opportunity to be able to visit churches that I don't normally get that opportunity to do. But I see, some pastors that get on live, and some prominent pastors, they'll get on their lives, and because we're in a land of likes, I'm gonna wait until I have 1,000 people on before I say what I gotta say. You know,
Yeah.
and I think, sometimes does that, do we can we, and I'm not just saying pastors, but I'm talking about people, members, parishioners of congregations. Can we be is it, can we be found guilty sometimes of teetering on that line of playing into the commercialism more so than the ministry to be more appealing
Hmm.
to people? And to be honest, sometimes we can become so commercialized that we forget the gospel ministry. And the gospel ministry is always about soul saving and life changing. And sometimes we can be so commercialized that we alter uh the message. We alter the motive behind what we do. You know, it sometimes becomes more about putting more butts in the seats than changing lives.
That's
You
what
know,
I was going to ask. Like, do you think that the church is guilty, or do you think the church doesn't have anything else to go to? Because right now society we're a very technical society. We like things a certain way. So, do you think the church is guilty, or do you think church just got to go with the times?
I'm all for uh modifying your method. Modify your method to stay relevant, because if you don't modify your method to stay relevant, y'all see each week we trying stuff different on these lives to try to, and it ain't about getting likes or views. It's just trying to stay relevant. It's trying to and then more particularly uh cater to the particular audience and the that our church targets, and also to further develop what the culture of our church is.
Mhm.
Particularly with us approaching our campus reopening in October, we're experimenting with things virtually, that so that we can work out the kinks virtually, so that when we get back to campus in October, we got all that stuff perfected. Because I believe whatever you do, you should present excellence in what you're doing. And you should just throw God something and say, here. Uh, but at the same time, staying relevant is one thing, but then becoming so overly commercialized to the point that sometimes you forget you at church.
And see, that's what I was gonna say. Because the thing about it is when our great grandparents was going to church and they was taking their Bibles, it's the same Bible that we take when we go to church. And I think that's what's missed. God has been the same God today, yesterday, and forevermore. And so in church, the way that the Bible teaches us to, fellowship with one another, and the way the Bible teaches us how to worship, that's how we should maintain. And kind of like you said, we adjust or we tweak things a bit so we can get that extra 10 people into our audience. And I feel like it's missed because God is the same God regardless. So why do we have to adjust ourselves so somebody else can come like it, so somebody else can fit in? Because a
Right,
lot of times when we adjust ourselves for somebody, they end up leaving anyway or going and doing something else.
right.
And so now we all adjust. Now we got to go to a chiropractor so they can fix us back because we didn't adjust ourselves. We messed up and they gone. And so, and I think that's why a lot of these churches see these cycles of members. Like, one month they was like, oh, we got 30 members, praise the Lord. And then the next month, out of the 30, it's only about five that's still there. And then
Right.
you get 30 more. And so it's just like an ongoing cycle. So if they just have God in church like we know when we was kids. Cause even us pausing and having donuts and all that, we didn't do that when we was growing up. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but that's just not something that we did.
Right.
And
Right.
so we add these different culture things into church, thinking that it's gonna lighten the mood or make people feel more comfortable. But is that really what church was designed for?
I think the most important thing about church is, uh, again, you do have to change with times. It's just like I would look real crazy walking around in some uh platforms with fish in the bottom of them.
You talking about
I
on the
look
edge of the
real,
circle?
yeah, I look real,
Yes.
and they be like, "What is wrong with this guy?" But I think you have to change with times. But the most important thing in changing with times, you have to also understand that in order to have the most effective church, you have to have something for everybody.
Right.
You got to have some for grandmama. You got to have some for little baby. You got to have some for the folk in between. You got to have something for everybody from a point of attraction. Because let's face it, church has to be attractive for people.
Yeah,
Uh,
it has to.
it's sad to say that the word ought to be enough. It ought to be enough, but you have to have ministries and programs that are attractive to everybody now. You got to have something that keeps them engaged. Uh, you can't just be so modern that you forget about the older people, and you can't be so traditional that you forget about the younger crew. So you have to have a good hybrid of programs. And yes, now I think the spiritual part is most important. Yeah, that is the undergirding essence of everything about church. That you got to have the spiritual piece, and as pastors and leaders, you have to hear the voice of God, but the voice of God as it pertains to what works for your church is not going to be the same as it works for First Baptist down the street.
Right.
You
That's what
know,
I was going to ask you because, like, what do like these small town preachers, that have, 20 members up in their church, like, how do they, because no, like, of course they want to grow, they want to do this and that, but what do they do?
some of them small town with 20 members, they good. Them 20 members come for
They
what they
good.
want.
That's right.
And I'll be honest. Can I just be honest and give you my opinion? Because I've seen it in a lot of situations, not every situation, but a lot of those small town preachers that got 20 members because the preacher don't want to do nothing new, and them 20 members don't want him to do nothing new.
I want nothing new.
That's true.
And
But do you
and,
think
and
do you think that do you think that pre like do you think that specific people are called to specific pastors? And what I mean by that is like I personally feel like and I feel like it's missed because I feel like when somebody say I'm gonna be a pastor and they tell their wife or whoever they family they're gonna be a pastor, then they go out and they preach and they want to preach to the masses and they want to bring thousands of people in. But do you think that like God calls certain preachers to like certain groups of people? So I'll give an example like the Ramp Church. Like it is a very young majority of his members are millennials and like that's just work. You don't see like a lot of elderly people at the Ramp Church. And I mean, they have different departments for all ages, but majority of their congregation is just that. And even when he gets on his platform, like those are the groups of people that he talks to. So it seems to me as if he's okay with that. But then on the flip side, you have these other preachers that's just trying to like come, and they want to bring everybody, but that may not be their, I don't want to say ideal client, but they ideal member who God has, brought them to. And I feel like maybe the preachers need, when they say God has called me to preach, they need to. The next question is, okay, God, what kind of members do I need to have in my church? Because some
well,
preachers may only need to have families, or some preachers may only need to have this, like that.
here's my Jeremiah 3:15 says that I will give you pastors after my own heart who will lead you with knowledge and understanding. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that every pastor is called to a people, and
Mm-hmm.
every people is called to a pastor. So there is That's why folk running around from church to church, and you might be sitting at a church, and though you join that church, that may not necessarily be your pastor.
Yeah.
And that pastor you might not necessarily need you as his people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have guys, and Pastor Evan, that is my boy, my brother, uh and he's doing a phenomenal work. But pastors got to know their lane. He is great with millennials, and his ministry is attractive for those. That again, it goes back to what I say. Your ministry got to be attractive, and then also as a pastor, when you're called, you got to know who God is calling you to. You know, don't be up here 78 years old and thinking just because you put on some jeans and start preaching in a t-shirt and flip your hat backwards, that young couples gonna come running to you, or young
Right.
people gonna come running to you, when you done did all of that, but you still get up there and your sermon presentation is still, I'm going to walk through the pericope of the text today, and
Mm-hmm.
if I'm 27, I don't know what you're talking about. That don't mean nothing to me,
That's it.
because you're not talking my language. You're not
Mm-hmm.
again being relevant. We got to be relevant in every way. The word of God does not change, but the methodology changes. If you 78, you don't. First of all, if you 78, you might want to think about not getting ready to pass that on to somebody. You know, because you 78 in 2020, or you got to have sense enough to surround of uh the sense. You got to have sense enough. uh you got to have sense enough to surround yourselves with people who can help you to accomplish relevant ministry. You got to have sense enough to surround yourself. And Pastor Jo, as I
Yeah.
stated, I was not saying the word said. I was referencing Jeremiah 3:15, but I was stating, I believe, as I started my statement with that. I believe that every pastor has a people, and every people has a pastor. Now, I'm not saying that a pastor cannot shepherd uh, people who are sent, as long as they are willing to be shepherded. But I do believe that God calls pastors to uh, to a certain demographic. I believe that that pastors, again, like I was stating, if you 80 years old, just because you put a baseball cap on and turn your hat backwards, does not necessarily mean you are called to a group of millennials,
And you know
because
what?
you
And you know what? I'm sorry.
go.
And not just a demographic, be it age wise, but I think that a lot of people attract to um, ministries that cater to their particular need.
Exactly.
And so it's not that the pastor is 78, he can't relate or reach a person who's 28, but it may be that I'm going through a particular situation um, that this church is able to recognize and help pull me through, where maybe if I go to the church down the street, it's kind of like an unspoken thing and they never touch that topic, and so I will never get help through that particular ministry. because there are certain areas and certain things that that pastor is just not going to address. A
Mhm.
lot of ministries sugarcoat issues, and won't touch certain topics to appease people that come through the door. You understand? So I think
Mhm.
that yes, it is true that there is a people for every pastor and a pastor for every people, in a sense that um, everyone has everyone has that person that they can relate to, that person that's going to speak to where they are at that time. And it may be that you're there for a particular season. You may not be a lifelong member. You
Mhm.
may be, a get what you need from that ministry, and your spiritual residence is somewhere else. But I do agree, Bishop, with what you're saying. um I don't believe that every church is for everybody. um yeah.
And then and everybody, being relevant does not necessarily mean that you go from start traditional Baptist to be CCM. That is not that, because some folk trying it and it just ain't working for them. There is still a need for some traditional based worship experiences. Now, being relevant may mean you don't sing "God Me Old, I Great Jehovah" every Sunday. Being relevant may mean you make some minor adjustments, but there are still, but you got to know your lane. You got to know your lane, and you got to have balance. Like I said earlier, you got to have something for everybody. You
Mhm.
got to have something that meets, like you said, Lady T. The ministry has to meet the need, and as a church and as leaders, and that's why again pastors got to have good sense to surround themselves with a competent leadership team that can help them properly assess the demographics of their congregation. That goes beyond the spiritual piece in the regard that when you know the demographics of your congregation, then that helps you to become more spiritual about your congregation, because now you can begin to uh, seek God even the more on how is it that I can successfully create a hybrid that everybody who comes in through these doors will and who are committed and planted, because everybody that come through the doors aren't planted, but for the
Hmm.
folk who are planted, for the folk who I am assigned to, because I don't care how many folk come to your church, they are not necessarily your sheep.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Not necessarily your sheep.
So,
Pastor J
so
says
to,
that, that made
oh, go
reference
ahead.
about the goats. Yes, that is true. You got some goats who straddle in there, and so you got and they all eating the grass. They all eating the grass, but some of them, are not goats. I mean, are not sheep, and so you have to have a great balance on ensuring that you're investing the time into those who are planted, investing the time into those who you share the word with everybody. You share the word with everybody who comes, because that is the assignment. You share the word with everybody, but everybody does not require your uh,
Shepherdship,
undivided attention.
is that a word?
So you have to you got to be relevant. You got to be Uh, you got to stay current, but you got to know your lane. You got to know your lane.
What were
You
you
know,
saying, Lady Ann? Oh, sorry.
Hmm.
What was your question?
you were getting ready to.
Oh, oh yeah. I was gonna ask a different question that sparked when you was talking. Do you think? I mean, even with churches, trying to grow and to be the next mega church, do you think that it takes away from? And I was trying to find exactly where it says it in the Bible, but I know where they talks about like how like the shepherd is like the watchman, like like they watch over their flock, and or pretty much to say that like they're the ones to like keep us accountable. And so like when you have thousands of members as a shepherd, like how are you genuinely able to do that? Because some of your sheep just know, I go to this church, and your pastor may or may not even know your first or last name, or you may be divided up and have a different person because your last name is A through L.
Well,
And so,
there's nothing wrong with that. That's you know, th- I'll kind of and Lady T is texting and fussing at me too, so I gotta
yeah,
stop talking. She say I'm talking way more than I should be. So,
yeah.
uh, the first of all, the intention of a pastor, and this is my opinion. I'm not saying it's the gospel truth, but it's my opinion. The intention of the pastor should not to be, I'm trying to be the next mega church.
Mm,
Again, stay in your lane. Uh, it's about pastoring those efficiently and effectively that God has entrusted me with. If it's 100, God bless. Thank God for 100. If it's 1,000, thank God for the 1,000. But my goal and intention should always to be to effectively pastor all of those God has entrusted me with.
So,
And there's nothing wrong with mega churches. Mega churches are in the Bible. Israel was a mega church, and it was way more than 30,000 of them. And Exodus 18, Jethro told Moses, "Listen, when he saw him, the people coming before him, day from morning to evening, and he saw this. Jethro told Moses, "Listen, this is gonna wear you and the folk out. So you need to find you competent men." And then he was specific. He said, "Listen, put some over tens, some over hundreds, some over thousands, and some over tens of thousands," which denoted that there is some folk who ain't called to be over 10,000.
mhm,
That's not their ministry. We even see that biblically represented with the talents. He gave one, another two, another five. And and the Bible said to each one according to their ability. So, I gotta know my lane. I gotta know if I'm a just because I want to be, don't make me be.
mhm,
but I think that goes both ways as well. And so you touched on the point I was going to make. So the Lord knows what you can handle as a pastor. He knows that if you're a 20 member type of pastor, or if you're a tens of thousands of members type of pastor. However, that sheep should know the type of pastor they need as well. If you are a person that requires that personal connectivity and more attention from your shepherd, then you should know a mega church is not for you. Not to
mhm,
say that people fall through the cracks, but logistically, it is just not possible for that
mhm,
pastor to know 10,000 every person of those 10,000 members you have. There is a level of connectivity that they try to engage in and keep consistent. But if you're requiring more than what they have to offer, then that may not be the church for you. So it's not just a pastor knowing his people, but it's also the people knowing their pastor, their ministry, what they need, if they can get that there. And, that's one of the things that you have to be very, um, prayerful and pray about. Yeah, let's say that, to know that where God is leading you, you're actually hearing and heeding, and not making hasty decisions based on the popularity of that pastor. I
Mhm.
go to this such and such church because he's the
Yeah.
pastor and they have this going on. But me as a sheep, I'm falling by the wayside because that's not the ministry I'm supposed to be tied to,
And
because
Mhm.
it
that's
goes
not the ministry that I can get what I need from.
right. It goes, and that brings us right back around to our subject matter. Why do I go to church?
Mhm.
You know, and you know, in this day and time, in the mega church mentality, you have a lot of people like that. It's absolutely like to what you just said. You got to know, you know, it's the pastor got to know his lane, and then you got to know if that's the ministry you're supposed to be a part of. You know, because it's like I stated, I believe uh, every pastor has a people, and that he's called to, and every people ought to know where they're called to serve in ministry. And you know, your response to your if somebody says, what church do you go to, your response should not be, I belong to Bishop-elect Mitchell's church. You never told that person where you went to church.
Yeah.
They
You should
still
be
like,
able to just say the church name. And I
you
do.
know,
That's one thing that I admire about the Life Center is because it's not it's not emotionally driven on membership. And the
right.
thing about that is that's how you genuinely find out if somebody genuinely wants to be a member of your church, because not based off of this one Sunday the spirit was high and we were shouting and the pastor was laying hands and he was prophesying to this person and that person, and because of the way my emotions felt, I felt like this is the place that I need to be in. No. And so, you will ask one Saturday and then you may not ask for a whole nother month and a half if somebody want to join. And if that person may have come on a good Saturday where it was like that, and then the next Saturday you just sat on the steps and you just teach, and and then the next Saturday is the same thing. And so just different ways of teaching, if somebody is still there, throughout all of that, and they still have that same connection, that same zeal that we always get when we first join the church or become Christians. If that's still there, then that's how okay, this person is ready to commit to this ministry and be a genuine partner of this ministry, and not just joining because they had a rough week. I laid hands on them and told them about their past and their daddy beat them and God forgave him and you, and now you want to join. So, and I
Yeah,
think that's a lot. A lot of it is emotion. When people say, "Oh, well, I just felt God that day," and then you don't see him for like 3 months.
yeah, y'all know I'm good about sitting on the steps and be like, all right, let's talk. You know, I'm good about that. You know,
And that's
I don't,
just as effective.
Uh huh.
and you know,
It is.
like, I stopped all that hooping and stuff too. I just talk, man. I'm getting fat and old. I mean, like, if I go out somewhere, I do what I always tell y'all, my pretty preaching, but but like at the house, let's talk. Let's have a conversation, because it
Yeah,
is
because
it
you don't
is
have to
the
yell at me.
shepherd and to empower, the people that God has entrusted you with. Like I said, even with the goats, as Pastor Ochua reference,
Come
you
on, go.
you put everybody, you give everybody the same grass. And that grass is the word of God. That is your job. Give them the word. Some gonna eat the grass and run on. I ain't mad. They got the word. But those that are planting are those who I give the grass, but I make sure I keep watering the grass and I keep fertilizing the grass and so on and so forth, so that they always have somewhere to come. If y'all get what I'm saying, so
Amen.
why we go to church? I hope it's uh I can't with him. I can't with him. I'm sorry. I'm seeing your comments. Oh, so
Well, we,
I I
amen.
don't know, but you feed everybody. So
Well, we don't have no cans of trash to give them, so they're gonna have to
Right.
eat
They
what
go
we
get
give
this grass.
Oh yes.
them. You gonna get grass today.
at the end of the day, it makes you really evaluate why do you go to church? What is your motivation? And those that are watching tonight, those that will watch this video later, uh, God bless you, Apostle Carr. He's watching from New Orleans. Those, if you're watching, really, really evaluate and think. Why am I getting up going out of ritual because my mama? Uh, this is programmed in me. It's not. It's not. I'm going to church because of program, not because of purpose. Uh, or I'm going to church because I'm I'm it's my favorite. I'm out here jumping out there. I'm going because uh of who my pastor is, which that if you're going for the word, that's important. But who bringing the word, that if it's the word going forward, and it is truly the word of God, the uncompromising, unaltered, not watered down gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah, it don't. If Big D give it, you ought to receive it.
Boy, if
Big
Big D
D, you
give a
gonna bring
word,
the
I am
word?
going to be in the
Oh, that's not
front
my
row.
calling. That's not my. That's not. I don't. That's not my calling.
Oh, I'm gonna be in the front row.
Hey,
I'm
I'm
not. No,
I
I'm.
still
I'm gonna
got
I'm
have
gonna
to
bring the
pass.
word on
I
this.
still got I still got 2 weeks before I can you know.
Since Pastor Dominique got this Sunday, let me get that second Sunday, because I already got my sermon title too.
Well, we'll put you down for the sixth Sunday.
No, see, I'm just gonna go. See, I'm just gonna go live from the church page, and I'm gonna tag all y'all, and it's gonna say I'm having doubts about my doubts.
So you gonna
That'll
preach
get
my
people on, because
so
they'll think that it's you.
you
Uh-huh.
gonna preach my sermon.
Yeah, like Big D said, when people bait the people in,
Uh
I'm gonna
huh.
have your picture on the flyer and everything,
And
and I'm
they
gonna
gonna
say,
come right on in. They
"Good,
gonna thinking it's
good,
you.
good morning, saints." This was
As soon as the camera turns, they gonna say,
yeah.
"Oh,
They be like, I was tricked, ran them up, click link, bamboo.
Bamboozled.
But
Oh,
this
God
is
They
bless
love
y'all.
you.
we are gonna have a second part of this discussion next Tuesday. Uh we got an interesting topic. It will be a continuation of this discussion. Uh, we appreciate everybody for always joining in and watching us on Tuesdays, and then for watching and sharing the videos later. Uh, appreciate y'all so much. Uh, join us Sunday at 12 noon uh, for the living room with Pastor Jay. One of our associate pastors will be sharing the word with us on this Sunday.
Woo.
Bishop, Lord, I said Bishop, Prophet,
Uh-oh.
Pastor Dominique Waits will be sharing the word with us on this Sunday on live. So y'all come on, tune in, and I promise you, you're gonna be blessed. All right, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for watching. God bless and good evening.